So this has been another video that I've been wanting to make for a while. I want to tell my whole ACL story because I know that since I've had all this, I love to hear other people's stories, like how did that happen to you, or and like what did you go through, what did you do, all that stuff. So I'm gonna start from the beginning, probably to the end. This is going to be kind of a boring video. If you're not interested, I would just click out because there's going to be a lot of talking. This might be a two-part video, so I'm going to try to tell the story as quickly as I can and just try to condense it all. But the day that it happened, it was June 18th, 2015. It was a day I'll never forget, ever. And ironically enough, I was reading the chapter of Ronda Rousey's book in which she tore her ACL, and I remember thinking, oh my god, I don't know what I would do if that was happening to me, because I was planning on competing the first week in July at a tournament in Ohio, so I was getting my training up, training regularly, like every day, just to prepare for that. So, and I was thinking that, I'm like, oh my god, that would suck to happen in the middle of my training, like leading up to. So that day of training, a friend of mine actually tried a class that day. We went through the technique class, and she was signing up as we were getting into our first round of randori. I went the first round with the kid that I was training with. I had pulled guard, and he tapped me somehow, and then I was like, no, I need to get my shit together. I need to work on my stand-up. So I decided to go for a hip toss. And when I went for the hip toss, he wrapped his arms around my waist, and it was basically a fail. And he wrapped his arms around my waist, and he picked me up. The first time I thread my left foot into, in his leg. And the second time, I was like, okay, I thought he was going to take me down. I'm like, there's no way I can defend this to my knowledge. And I was just basically ragdolled. I was like, okay, I'm just waiting to be taken down. And I thought he was gonna pick me up, clear my legs, and then just throw me on the ground, just slam me. And I'm just preparing for this huge throw. And then all of a sudden he changed levels, and he thrust his hip. He was off to my left side a little too much. He thrust his hip into the side of my knee, and it buckled, and it was a loud pop. And it was just immediate tightness. He fell on me, I fell, and I just grabbed my knee. I'm like, holy fuck. And I just remember my eyes were like a deer in headlights. I was like I don't even know what the fuck just happened. That was just I knew what happened. So, and then I immediately started crying because I knew it was my ACL. I knew that the audible pop was what happened when you tear your ACL, and I was just reading Ronda Rousey's book, and that's what she talked about too, and I'm like, I just fucked my knee so in my life. I'm training jiu-jitsu every day, I'm working out every day, and that happening, you might as well have told me my whole family just died, because that's how devastated I was. I was so emotional. And my coach comes over, and he's standing over me, and he's trying to get me to go in the back room because I'm being hysterical on the mat, and I was just being so crazy in my head. I'm cussing him out in my head. I'm like, motherfucker, can't you just see my whole life just fell apart? My heart is broken right now. Can't you see I'm falling apart? No, I'm just crying on the outside. That's it. So they try to get me in the back, a couple of my teammates, and they carry me. And one of my teammates, Marco, he ran and got me ice. He got me crutches, because he knew what just happened too. And rest in peace, Marco. Love you, miss you. I waited for everyone to leave before I exited the dojo because I was so embarrassed that I cried like that. And I just was kind of emotional. I didn't want people to ask me, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I was trying to avoid that conversation. So I couldn't sleep that night. The swelling got worse. I ended up getting into the doctor, thankfully, the next day, and he wrote me, he was just like, oh, I think it's probably your meniscus, just because no one wants to assume that it's your ACL, right off the bat. So he wrote me for a script for my MRI. I got my MRI a week later. That's very soon. And I got it a week later. I was on top of my shit. I got the phone call. He told me that I had a complete ACL tear. I was devastated. I was crying all the time. I couldn't stop crying, but then I had to go through therapy to get the full extension back. At least, I mean, I couldn't get the flexion back. It just was stuck. It was so swollen that it wouldn't go. It was kind of stuck at, a little more than 90 degrees, but I wanted to get the surgery done and over with. I'm like, the sooner I get it done, the quicker I'll be back on the mat. And that was my goal. I'm like, jiu-jitsu is my goal right now, and that's the only reason that I had the surgery so quickly and moved so, like, fast. Otherwise, if I wasn't doing anything, I probably would have waited a while before I got it done. So I went through therapy, and then I ended up having the surgery on July 23rd, 2015, which was basically a month later. Long story short, he said that the patellar tendon graft was ruined because the screw was too long and it nicked the graft, so it wasn't going to be strong enough to hold up to be an ACL. So he just scrapped the whole thing. He came out and talked to my parents and said that I was open on the table and we needed to make a decision. I either close her up and you guys go get another opinion or go see somebody else, or I can take her hamstring, because that was, to my knowledge, it was a graft option from the beginning. My parents, no clue, no idea what's going on. I'm an adult. I've been going to my doctor's appointments myself. They have no idea about ACL surgery at all. And so, they're like, we can't just, like, leave her on the table and close her up and then wake her up and be like, hey, excuse me, we didn't do anything, so you're going to have to rehab for a whole year and then do the surgery and rehab again for a whole year. I mean, my parents they didn't know, like, how long you rehab for this. They didn't know it was going to be a full year, so, they chose the hamstring graft for me because, like, we can't just do nothing about this. So, I mean, I don't really, if I was in their position and I didn't know anything, that's probably what I would have said too. I mean, it was an option, so just go for it. And so they ended up taking the hamstring, and I remember waking up in recovery and they're like, the surgery didn't go as planned. I was supposed to be in there for, like, I think, like, max 2 hours, and I was in there for almost 8. And I think I was under anesthesia for too long. I was violently sick. I was sick for about 12 hours after that, just vomiting constantly. I was like, this is what death feels like. I truly thought I was dying. I'm like, I don't know how I can make it through this. To this day, that was the worst day of my life. Physically and emotionally, 100% the worst day. So when I was waking up, they told me that they were going to keep me overnight because I was going to be in a lot of pain. They gave me a nerve block, and I just remember them, like, digging around in my thigh with a needle. And my leg was, like, twitching around, and I just remember hearing them kind of banter to each other, like they weren't getting what they were, like, looking for. And I'm like, this is the most fucked up feeling I've ever felt. And then my wonderful hospital stay was right after that. They were the worst nurses I've ever seen, I've ever had, my dad's been in the hospital, I don't even know how many times, okay? And I've never seen nurses treat their patients the way they treated me. They treated me like absolute garbage. They had no bedside manner. They let my IV bag run dry. I asked for a pillowcase, I don't know how many times, because the pillow that my leg was on, the blood was just saturating the pillowcase. I'm like, I can't even get someone to come in here. I'm like, if you can't change my bandages, can you change the damn pillowcase so I'm not sitting here in my own blood? They were bitching at me about each other, and they thought, like, each other was doing certain things that they weren't doing. Like, they missed my pain medicine at a specific time that I was supposed to be on. Like, I need my pain medicine. I think I pressed, like, the nurse's button, like, the call thing. Like, I don't know how many times, because then they wanted me to take medicine, like, pain medicine orally, and I couldn't keep it down, but the only thing that I could eat was, like, I started to eat saltine crackers, so I needed those, and they were not bringing them when I needed them. I also, my parents went home because my dad's disabled and he can't sleep in the hospital, so my boyfriend ended up staying with me. He was sleeping on the floor, on the hospital floor, with a sheet that I gave him because they wouldn't bring us a sheet. So then finally a nurse came in and was like, what the hell is going on in here? Like, my boyfriend's literally sleeping on the disgusting hospital floor. So she decides to get us a cot. I'm like, I've asked 3 different nurses and they all told me that there were none. And she's like, there's one down the hallway. Oh my god. I'm like, thank God someone has like some fucking sense in this damn place. Like, I was pissed. Anyways, so when I was about to leave, my dad tried to talk to a manager and conveniently nobody came and saw us. So I'm like, I just want to fucking go home. I don't want to be in this shithole any longer. So I went home and I think I slept for about a week, and within that week my leg just completely shriveled up. It was like emaciated. I couldn't move for so long, longer than most people after their ACL surgery. Like, I see people, they're on their way, like, walking home. I could barely get up to do anything, to go to the bathroom. Like, this is fucking disgusting. But I was like, I had to like pee in a cup on the side of my bed because I couldn't get up to go to the bathroom or walk. Like, it was like I was in so much pain. I was crying so much. Literally, it was like the most awful experience of my life. I have been trying to find someone who's had like double the surgery in the same time, and I literally can't find anyone. I was not doing things that most people do, and I just felt so alone. So many positive things have happened to me since this. I'm still dealing with so many complications from this surgery. I'll discuss them in another video because this is getting a little bit. End this video in a more positive way, but I can't. You know, the real story is not always a pretty one. But there will be a part 2. So, I mean, things have gotten better. I promise. It's not all horrible. So, yeah, stick around for that one. If you did watch this video, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.